Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Comic Shop Talk on the Late Night Chat Network, your first stop for pop culture talk. I'm your host, Niko, and joining me today, as always, my co-host, Chris. How you doing?
Hey, not too bad. How are you?
I'm good. This is episode 186 of Comic Shop Talk on that road to 200 episodes here before the end of the year. Please make sure to subscribe to the channel. Make sure to hit that like button, that thumbs up, leave us a comment. Tell a friend. I'm back in the in the usual spot recording here today, back from my vacation. And unfortunately, but all things must come to an end at some point. But excited to talk about another week of comics here with Chris. Today we're going to be talking about the new comic books that came out for the week of July 2nd, 2025. And as always, spoiler warning, we are going to be getting into like what happened in the books here and showing off some of the art. So if you're worried about getting spoiled, you can always read your books and then come back and check us out another time. I'm not going to be holding up any of my books today because I've yet to run to the LCS to pick up my last week's haul. So it's going to be a big one this week when I actually get around to it. Chris is
I'm in the same boat there. My LCS came up short this week, so I think we had some nice variant covers too. At least I know that for the Spider-Man, I had that Lee Bremo or something.
Oh, the Lee Bermejo. I got that one too, the Black Cat one. Yeah. So I'll be excited to see my books nonetheless here this week when I go to pick them up. But stay tuned. Maybe we'll show off some of that stuff next week when we actually get around to picking that stuff up. So, all right, guys. That being said, Chris.
All right, let's talk comics.
I got some beer though.
Cheers.
Cheers. All right. First up on the docket here today, big release this week. Captain America #1 from our boy Chip Zdarsky.
That's it. I was looking forward to reading this, and I don't think it didn't disappoint. It looks like they put some effort into this. The art, I thought that was standout-ish. And I kind of got a little bit worried about this backtracking. And it was a little bit confusing because they're sort of backtracking this, what's this guy's name? Dalton Colton or something?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember his name, but
the guy thought it was supposed to be somebody I'm supposed to know, but it sounds like it's a brand new character from what I understand.
Yes.
And, and then reading the solicitations, I thought a lot of this would be taking place in the past, which I'm not a big fan of. But it looks like something's going on in present day time. So I was happy about that. And Chip Zdarsky's he's starting out with a decent story here. And it's finally good to have a good Captain America story. But this is a nice page here. I think this might be out of the past or something with him on the motorcycle chasing down forget who he was after, but that was a good scene.
I almost felt like this took place. I thought this whole thing kind of took place in the past where he just got out of the ice. Or did I miss where they're making reference to a current date?
Well, doesn't he meet up with that new kind of Howling Commandos group at the end? And that's where they sort of introduce this. Or, I don't know if they introduce him. But
yeah, I thought that
was a new Captain America, it seems.
I thought that was also taking place in the past.
But not like in the past, like.
No, this kind of, I think what I got from this, and I may be wrong.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong. I thought maybe it is all taking place at the same time frame.
I don't think it's like the far past, but I think this is taking place somewhat after the time that he came out of the ice. And like,
okay, so I thought like the stuff that he was talking about was back then, and with this new team, they're doing something closer to the future, but I guess not. Maybe I'm wrong.
Again, this scene does seem like the present day. So maybe I'm wrong because I mean, like, when he comes out of the bar and he goes and confronts this guy and does all this other stuff, yeah, maybe you're right. The way they melded it together, though, I was a little just confused by that. But I think you're right. I think because then Iron Man comes and he's in this suit and he basically says all this stuff to him here, where it seems like, I don't know, it doesn't seem like the relationship's the same as they are. He asks him basically, Oh yeah, but isn't he running around in this suit right now? Like, cause he uses he's using that one in West Coast Avengers now, the older suit, right?
Yeah, who knows
Because
what he's up to.
he says you should come join the Avengers officially here in this, and he isn't interested. He says I already belong to an organization.
Well, I think he's still talking about the army. This is sort of what he. I thought this might be moving in two different timelines, but maybe it isn't.
Yeah, I don't think
I might be wrong.
Yeah, I think that's the case. It's not like it's taking place like it's not like when he was in the war, but I think this is kind of back when he originally came out of the ice, sort of, and like before he joined the Avengers. I'm thinking that's what it is, and that's why this dude that they were introducing in it, that I guess also went through the same kind of like super soldier serum stuff. I'm guessing is where they're going, where they made another Captain America maybe we weren't aware of or something, or that's kind of where I thought it was coming to, is that, oh yeah, when you were in the ice, we this is another dude that we trained to be basically a super soldier. I got that impression by the end of this anyways, and I think this was taking place in that time period. So, but yeah, I agree. The art was really good. What did you think this was a good start though? I thought. I mean,
I thought it was a good start. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I'll keep it on the pull list, that's for sure.
Yeah,
there's nothing for me to really take it. I kind of groaned about that. This is going nowhere.
I'm glad to see like a back to basics Cap kind of approach here, because I feel like for a while here they've kind of been pushing Sam as Captain America. And even like when they had both of their books going on at the same time, it seemed like Captain America was serving different purposes. Like, in his books, like they both kind of had like separate kind of, it seems like, like positions on everything going on in the Marvel universe. But, if this is either something taking place back in the day or something that's going to lead up to present day, whether or not, like, we were wrong about when it takes place. I think this is a good approach to the character, though. It kind of reminded you of what makes this Captain America great, and like, what he cares about, and like, you know what I mean? Like I could tell this was that character I love and enjoy here in this issue. So I'm glad that Chip, it seems like, has a good voice for the character. I previously had enjoyed reading him when he did him in he did an Invaders series before, which is like him and the old Human Torch and Namor and all that. And so I think Chip has a good handle on this guy.
Yeah, and he also did that Twilight series too.
That's right. I forgot about
the future, where I appreciated that one as well.
And also, this is a really great scene that he has with the Fantastic Four in this issue too. I really like that moment where somebody comes up to him and he tries to like, yeah, Chris, this takes place in the past. I mean, even the scene seems like that. Like he's like, he's like, oh, you, Mr. Fantastic, whatever, and he like morphs his face to make it look different. He's just like,
like I thought all this stuff takes place in the past, but all that stuff when he's meeting the new team, I thought that was more in the future. But like I said, I think I might be wrong about that.
Yeah. Okay. I might have to give it another read too, just to make sure. Cause sometimes when they flip back and forth and they don't make it apparent in the issue, it could throw me off as well. So yeah, good stuff though. I mean, if I had to guess, this is going to be like another like Nuke situation, or like one of these guys that like, I think that went wrong. Like, I think they've tried to emulate the Captain America thing with this other person, and this dude's going to turn out to be trouble. Right. That's what I get from the setup that's going here, which isn't going to be anything new, but maybe Zdarsky's got some tricks up his sleeve still. I don't know, but this is a good setup. I really liked it so far. So yeah, and this is a weird costume. Maybe this is present day shit. Because, like, what is this costume? I didn't like this. I was like, what the hell is this costume?
It's supposed to be like some stealth costume or something, wasn't it?
That's a shit costume, though. I gotta say, I don't know what that instills. It's not the American way, that's for sure. maybe this is that period of Captain America falling out of love with his country, which.
But then they talk about scenes like this. Like this guy was watching the war go down, or the Iraqi war. I know that's in the past, but if he's just coming, I don't know, like they don't really say when he comes out of the ice, but I'm always figuring it's the 60s, but who knows?
So a little confusion there on our part. What'd you give this?
Yeah, I give it a 3.75. It's a good start to the series.
That's exactly what I would give it. It gave me just enough to kind of be excited for the next issue, but it also didn't blow my socks off either. But I think it's a really good start. I think I'm excited for
Yeah.
the next one. Next up, we got Bring on the Bad Guys, Green Goblin #1. We read the first one, the Doctor Doom issue, so I think we both figured let's check out this one because I thought the Doom one was quite good.
Yeah, this one had a kind of a story moving through it. This one here, it was like the exact opposite.
Yeah.
It's almost like a retcon of the origin of the Green Goblin, it seems.
Yeah.
You know, now Mephisto's part of the freaking Oscorp, and the reason why it's so successful. I was a big fan of that. And then I guess it goes into that Sister of Sorrow, a bit of her history, and big deal. So this was it was a nice story to read, but I don't need that stuff retconned or anything like that.
Yeah, and therefore I think now I'm done with these one shots. The Doom one was a really good one to start off with. And then, like Chris said, exactly what you said there. I thought that they were going to continue it into this, with a story that linked up to that somehow. But it seems like they are just going with the idea that every single bad guy has their own story and approach. And then somehow they're going to bring them all together, I'm guessing. I don't know, because there's all those like daggers that they talked about in the Doom one.
But they had nothing to do with this one, right?
No, and then all you got at the only connection to the first issue you got was, like you said, at the end where they had a backup story of the Sister Sorrow, but the backup story wasn't all that good. So like it was just like it had really no connection to the first issue and the strong start that offered. So I was a little disappointed about this. Like it was fine on its own for what it was, but since it really had nothing to do with very little to do with the first issue, like they referenced the dagger there with Mephisto, like in this last scene here.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't the connection I was looking for between issues. So I thought the art again was good in this. But yeah, the story less so. So I think I'm out.
I give it a 3.5.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll give it a 3.5. Again, nothing objectively that bad with it, or else I would have given it less, but it kind of fell on its promise of the setup of the first issue of this whole thing. So next up, we got Gotham City Sirens, Unfit for Orbit #1.
So I read this because I thought you might be reading this, and I came in with very, very low expectations. After didn't they have one last year or last summer? They had like a 4-part or weekly series.
Yeah.
And coming into this, it exceeded my very low expectations. I don't think it's not knocking any socks off, but it was an entertaining story. I thought the art was decent, and they didn't lean into the cheesecake as much as I'd like to, and they could have. Because they did start out with some risque scenes, I think, with they had Harley in the shower and Selena sort of breaking in because she wasn't answering the door. And what I think they're off. The plan is they're off to space or something. I forget what they're doing.
Also, Poison Ivy was hooking up with.
I was going to talk about that, Dara. I'm glad you reminded me of it. They seem pretty casual about their open relationship, I guess.
Yes, that came as a big surprise.
That was a bit of a shocker there. I didn't think that was such an open relationship. I know I think in the Poison Ivy one with that Janet from HR, they might have had some sort of encounters, but they all seem to be under the influence of the mushrooms, or there was always some sort of outside reason, not just casually banging each other just for fun.
Yeah.
And and Harley's hoping that was FaceTime so she could enjoy that too. So that's a fun read, I guess.
Yeah, because she's like, "Oh yeah, what are you up to?" She said something like that. She's like, and she's like, "Oh, Janet from HR." Like she's basically, "What are you doing?" That's what she said, or something.
Yeah.
Like, Janet from HR. And she's like on top of her, straddling her, and her fucking bra is just showing, and I'm like, "Whoa, what's going on here?" And I also didn't know, since you stopped reading Poison Ivy, that Janet and HR were an item, and like her and Poison Ivy. I didn't know that this was a thing, right? So that was kind of a surprise. But I too read this, and I do think this is already though a better start than the last miniseries.
Oh, for sure, miles ahead.
And
it seems like there's some villain at the end. I don't know who it is, but at least it looks like a threatening villain too. So I'm happy about that.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. It wasn't half bad. I like you. I went in with low expectations. But yeah, I'll read another one. If it's a weekly thing. If it gets crappy, all of a sudden I'll just draw. I won't read the rest. But otherwise, yeah, this kind of felt like more. Because this is this Stephanie Williams? Who's writing this? Who's writing this one? Hold on. Yeah, Stephanie Williams. She's the same one that wrote Executioners. This felt like more of the Executioners energy that I was hoping that she brought to the first miniseries, but the first miniseries wasn't that like that. And we loved Executioners. That was a great miniseries, but this is showing a little bit more promise. So yeah, hopefully it's better than the last one, because the last one was awful. And this already in the first issue, I think, was more fun than that whole last miniseries was. Which was just dumb in my opinion. Whatever it was. Yeah. So I guess we'll see where it goes. What'd you give this?
That's a 3.5 for this.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. 3.5 for me as well. Next up, we got let's see here, Sisterhood #1, which is a new spin-off miniseries from the world of Hyde Street. What did you think of this, Chris?
This one was surprising. I thought, I've been enjoying the Hyde Street, with their sort of, I guess they're more serial type issues now. And I thought this would be more of a one and done type of issue. And, the art, I think, in the Hyde Street has been one of its high points as well. So when this one came out, I thought, okay, maybe the story's not going to be as great, and maybe they're going to skimp on the artist as well, and just kind of ride the Hyde Street name. But I was pleasantly surprised. It didn't start out with anything I thought I'd be too interested in. A couple young girls there, bonding over, I don't know, a day at the beach or a day at the lake or something. And then their mother dies in a car accident, and then they're sort of bonded as sisters from that time. And then it fast forwards to them sort of entering university. And, I thought the art was great for this. It's colorful, vibrant, let's say, I don't know. And the story sort of pulled me in there. I think, what's that? One girl wants to join the sorority, and, the other girl is, just trying to do her studies. And then at the sorority, one of them kind of gets, I guess, abused, or in the hazing there. They have to swim down to the pool, and the tie gets stuck in the pool, and she dies. And then her friend sort of goes on some sort of spiral, and then ends up at a palm reader that, of course, these palm readers here, they don't go to the fake ones. It ends up being a real one. And somehow she's involved. Somehow she's on Hyde Street now, I think, trying to ask for that help. Seemed to seal a deal that she wasn't unaware that she was part of. But at the end, it looks like this girl, now that they've kind of broken that spirit world barrier, is the other girl is looking for revenge. And, knowing Hyde Street, that Karma's a bitch. And, well, it's funny that the name is the character is Karma as well. So that was good. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, it was good. It got me interested by the end of the issue. I think it was a really good setup. I'm not familiar with the writer on this one, but yeah, I think the writer and the artist delivered on this. And I guess I'm going to continue reading this spinoff miniseries for now. I think it's going to be like a 4 or 5 issue miniseries probably. And if I had to assume, I would have to assume that by the end of this, they're going to bring this character into the series. I would think, like, introduce them more. He may have talked about these people. Remember when Pranky?
I'm sure there might be something in there when you find out who they actually are, because they haven't sort of revealed themselves as the villains yet.
Well, a couple of issues ago, Pranky, remember, he's like, not Pranky, the other guy, the glasses, the X-ray.
Yeah, the X-ray. Yeah.
He was going over, I think, or maybe it was Pranky, whatever, but they were going over all the characters currently on Hyde Street.
Yeah, so they might have been on the list.
Because there was some people that they mentioned that we haven't really been introduced to other than they're mentioning them in that scene. So yeah, maybe they were part of that list. The two of them, right? Because I'm sure that this other one's gonna basically help her seek revenge and end up doing her dirty work as well, because she's also pissed. She's gonna be pissed at the fact that she learned her sister got killed this way, right? So, and she already doesn't like the popular crowd, essentially, like, as they kind of, and the sorority girls lied about her murder.
Yeah, it's like they don't get in trouble because they have the connections with the alumni that whatever pay
Right.
Donate to the university or the college or whatever they're at.
Yeah. So I'm in. I'm interested. Good
Yeah.
stuff. What'd you give this?
I got 3.75. Good stuff.
Same. Yeah, good stuff. And then we got Black Hammer Spiral City #7, the last issue of this mini series, this chapter of Black Hammer. Chris, what'd you think of this?
That's it. This dark ride comes to an end. In the last issue, I thought things couldn't get worse for these people. And they do wrap everything up, but they didn't wrap it up as darkly as I thought they would. And I don't know if I'm upset about that or not. Because there's that one story with Backwards Bob and Forward Fred, like the last we seen them, whatever that cricket or I don't know what he was, the ant or is a cockroach.
Inspector and Sector. Yeah.
Yeah, Inspector and Sector. He's looking for his buddy, and then it's just a bloody mess there. And then there's that a note from Frontways Fred or something. And you go, oh no, that this Backwards Bob and Frontways Fred, he just trashed him. But then you find out that that blood was all from Backwards Bob beating himself up to get out of the influence of Forward Fred. So that kind of
and then it was kind of a commentary on mental illness because the guy you find out that he was like in an insane asylum previously.
Yeah, and they took him out of there, that he's not on his meds.
Can't afford the meds now because he's like living in the slums. So it's just like
those commentaries go all over my head. So I just take it at the entertainment value that it is.
Sure. I don't even think it's like a commentary on mental illness in our society. I'm just saying that that's where they went with it. They were blaming it on the fact that he was mentally ill in this, as opposed to just being like evil or bad or whatever, right? Like, yeah, I wasn't even saying it's a commentary on today's times, but it's a bleak fucking storyline, though. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, they have the mayor's daughter. I guess she goes on to kind of spill the beans about what she's been up to, and then I guess her father gets sort of, I don't know what you want to say. He loses power and he gets in jail, but they sort of have a redeeming moment because now that he's like, oh, now I don't have to, pretend or worry about things. And, he kind of just says her name in a loving way and they seem to embrace, and I guess they seem happy about that. And then I guess Black Hammer himself, he and the warden, they were about to take out those guys that he's working for. And they seem to get the shit beat out of them. I thought, okay, look, I'm not looking good for these guys either. And then, I guess
the original,
the original. That's what I was going to look for. I was going to say the ancient or the original League of Heroes that they have there.
Well, they're not the original, but they're the most recent version of the Black Hammer team here that shows.
Yeah, they come out. They're all come out. And maybe if I was more familiar with this world, it'd be more of a important scene. But that was nice seeing them come to kind of save his fire. The cavalry arrives and they take care of business, and then I guess he gets to go home and be happy with everything. So everything wrapped up nicely. But that's not the issue I have with this. Not everything wrapped up nicely.
It did leave you with a little bit of hope for these characters. You're right. I mean, but listen, it was bleak the whole way through. Even so, I would argue that at the end of this, a lot of these guys' lives aren't any better, though. Like, they did save the day, I guess, in some aspects, some of them, but like they still live in this shit part of town. Like, that girl's life is not going to be like, she exposed her father, but I'm sure as an addict, her life's not going to get any better. You know what I mean? Like, there was, for this moment in time, it ended on a good note, but I don't think that, like, who's to say what the future of some of these characters are. It's funny, though, that the Black Hammer team showed up, because where they last ended it, Jeff Lemire, before he introduced this new miniseries, I wasn't even sure if they were around anymore, these guys. So the fact that they actually showed up to help them at the end of the day, where they got the old, basically like the old GSA type team, the old heroes, called them, and he's like, yeah, that's where I went to make a call or whatever. So I was happy about that, to see that they actually still existed. But at this point in time, they referenced the fact earlier in this series that superheroes are all but like done now at this point, right? So I was a little surprised by them showing up there. I didn't know if they were still even around in this world. So I don't know. I'm interested to see where Jeff Lemire goes from here, like with these mini series. I thought this was a great return to form and a really different type of Black Hammer series that he hasn't really done so far. And it reminded me of how much I loved this series when he first came out with it. I think he lost his way towards the end because the series went like way longer, I think, than it had to go. And this was basically him taking like a whole new group of characters, new angle, kind of really reinvigorated my love for the series. So good miniseries all in all.
Yeah.
What'd you give this?
I'd give this I'm going to give it a 3.75, but the series as a whole, that could be like a 4.25. I really like the series.
I give this a 4 for this last issue, and I may even go 4.5 for the miniseries. I thought it was really strong. It's honestly one of the best Black Hammer miniseries that he's done in some time. I think the last couple where he ended out his last long storyline weren't that good. I remember you even probably heard me talking about those on the show where I'm just like, yeah, this was fine, blah, blah, blah. I just want them to end it. this was miles better than those ones. And I'm interested to see if he does other different stories now in this universe. Like it's not similar to this, but like different ones now that he's kind of
take his time. He doesn't have to pump these out freaking every month though.
No, and he doesn't. So yeah, that's fine. All right, Chris, X-Men Hellfire Vigil #1.
Yeah, so I'm just kind of interested in what's going on here. I heard some sort of big things happen, but just opening right away. Of course, the first, like I know it's supposed to be one sort of long story, but it kind of touches base with sort of everybody. I guess all these sort of important people in the X-Men world, and of course, the first person they have to start out with is with Kamala, Miss Marvel. There, she's kind of just entering. It's like, why the heck are they still pushing this this character?
Right.
Like have they not realized that this push is going nowhere? Unless I'm wrong about this, and maybe I'm just the only one that doesn't like it. But anyways, they go from there. Then I think they touch base with sort of the X-Men in Alaska and X-Men in Louisiana. They kind of sort of have their teams. They meet up, and they're a lot more cordial than than they met the last time. There's some big things. Well, not big things, but some interesting things here. I think they touch base with Storm. They find out that she's pregnant, and then somehow she gets to look into the future. And then they don't say who the father is, but they just say it as black hair, like her father, and then blue eyes. That she got from the mother, and this child has the powers of both her father and Storm, but they never say who the father is. However, I was listening to another show, and they kind of brought up that point there in the last Storm, or a few issues in the Storm comic.
Maggot?
She had a little
Maggot?
No, a little affair with Wolverine.
She did hook up with Wolverine in that series. That's right. We read that.
Yeah, we read that, and then wow, I don't know how these timelines work, but hooked up with Wolverine, and she finds out she's pregnant a few months later. We'll see. And then there's a whole bunch of other fucking baloney stories, and they try and at the end they try and reveal that these 3K X-Men are the future big bads. Like they say, the first 1,000 years belongs to the humans. The second or the year 2000, that belong. The mutants sort of started shaking things up, and the third, whatever year 3000 belongs to the mutants exclusively, and they have their little thing. But I saw a little panel there you had with Colossus. Hopefully he gets back in the mix. So it seems like he's just been hanging out in Russia, just I don't know,
farming,
doing whatever he does. But he does have a helmet now that sort of is like Magneto, so he won't be under mind control, because I think the last time we saw him, he was sort of being controlled by his brother, and he's almost like a sleeper agent that brought the downfall to Krakoa. So that's could be something interesting if they follow up on sort of these breadcrumbs they put out here. But otherwise, the art wasn't spectacular. I guess it's a good issue if you want to if you haven't been following what all the teams are up to and you want to sort of touch base with all of them. But there's really nothing in there that makes you want to go out to buy any of the ongoing issues of any of the characters. I think Jean comes back to visit Scott, so it's always nice to see them together after being away for so long. But yeah, I don't know, not the greatest. Yeah, and I give it a 3.5.
Next up, Absolute Green Lantern. I don't got the art for this one, but go ahead.
Yeah, I just kind of read this one online as well, and we're at issue 4. And I think right now there's maybe like 3 people left in that town, and they're sort of wondering why that they're the 3 people left. There's a bit of confrontation with, is it Sojourner? Is that Joe? She's the actual Green Lantern with the ring. And Hal Jordan, he's got the darkness within him. They sort of have a little, I guess, a little confrontation. And I don't know, I don't know why they stopped or started working together again. But they call in that Abin Sur, and he kind of comes by, and it seems that all the people in town that they thought were dead weren't. They've all been taken to Oa to be judged, and it seems like they're looking to find other ring people or something, or other people to wear the ring. And it seems that that Sojourner, she has a gold ring on her finger, and when this Abin Sur sort of turns into light, she sticks her hand in them, and she kind of can see the bigger picture. And at that point, sort of that force field that's been over the town has all collapsed, and that big Green Lantern type building kind of smashes to the ground. So maybe now the world is opening up, and now that the barrier's gone, and there's someone at the end comes in. I forget what his name, Hammond or something. I'm not sure who he is, and it seemed like it was supposed to be a big reveal at the end, but I'm not sure who the is.
Hector Hammond is a villain from Green Lantern. He's the guy that has that huge head.
Yeah, he comes in as a businessman here, and they're all kind of finding out what happened to this city. So
yeah,
it looks like this might be this series might be moving forward. So that was good to see.
I think he was the villain in the horrible Ryan Reynolds movie. Hector Hammond is a dude with the big head. If anybody remembers that, no, you're not a fan.
Well, I remember the movie, but this Hector Hammond didn't really register on things for me to remember.
What'd you give this?
I'll give it a 3.75. I'm a fan of this series. I'm not buying it, but I'm interested in where it's going.
Okay. Next up, I got Godzilla Vs Thor #1. This is interesting. This honestly, so this is the present day, basically, because we learned now that they're doing kind of like different eras of Godzilla and Marvel. And this is written by Jason Aaron. This is also Jason Aaron returning to Thor, who had a great run on the character for many years. Aaron Cooter on art, who I enjoy. But it's interesting because Jason Aaron kind of did this really interesting self-serving thing in this issue where he revisited some of his ideas from different series that he has worked on. So, like, if you were a fan of Jason Aaron's Marvel work, you would get a lot from this, and you can easily recognize that this is from like the current day era with Thor. So not only did he do like a cool one-shot story returning to the character of Thor, he linked it up to his Punisher story, Chris, where the actual, remember the clan of the people there, the hand basically that believed in the whole thing of the prophecy of the beast. They show back up in this, and they basically say, no, it's really cool actually what he did. They're like in the first page where they introduce them here, they're like, yeah, we believed it was this Frank Castle, but it clearly.
Oh, and they think Godzilla's the beast now.
Yes. It's actually a really fucking fun idea. I really liked this. I was like, that's awesome. I kind of like that. Even if you weren't a fan of what he did on Punisher, it's really cool that he was able to mine these characters like for some more like stuff and actually connect it to the Marvel stuff. Then when Godzilla comes into the picture, he gets taken over by like some sort of strand that the hand has. They have like some sort of fragment of what's his name? The Necro sword from the Gore the God Butcher, who was the villain in his Thor run. So like it was just really cool for Jason Aaron to revisit. You didn't need to have read those things to really appreciate this, but this is one of those things. If you had read those things by Jason Aaron, you're a fan of his work. He does this every so often. Like he kind of revisits like his own stuff. So it's almost like you know, everything that takes place in the Marvel universe is like in his canon, essentially, of like his stories, like in that sense. And I like when writers do that. And he was able to revisit some of these ideas and have this really great story here where the Hand basically, resurrect, they basically bring back a dead Godzilla using his heart, essentially, in this, that Thor ends up fighting. And then Thor and Godzilla basically end up killing each other and going to the afterlife and just like continuing their battle in hell, essentially. So it's almost like Jason Aaron saying like this is like a future story of Thor, which he used to do in his run, where he would kind of show you maybe some things from his future that maybe we won't get to in the current day. Like, you know, it may or may not have happened, essentially, like, but it happened. It was referenced in his run. And basically at the end of this, they fought so long and hard against each other at the end. They basically just end up in hell. And then you see Thor, and he's like old and stuff, and he's in hell with, you know, with like the Asgard hell, essentially, where, you know, all these guys go and they continue their eternal fight against one another, and they're just like warriors. Like, I'm just like, not one, it touched on how great he wrote Thor, because Thor was badass in this. Two, I thought it served its own purpose, like by, like I said, like doing a modern day Marvel story with revisiting some of his ideas. And three, I thought it was a really good Godzilla fight too. So like it really served all those purposes. And I think it was much different and better than any of the Godzilla one-shots that I've read. And I've enjoyed them overall. I've talked about them here on the show. This was my favorite, hands down. I think it was just excellent how they kind of like, he was able to like revisit the character and also some of his ideas from other things and rework them and repurpose them for this story. So great stuff. I think this is a slam dunk story, one shot that I told Chris to check out, but he just didn't listen to me. So he was just like, "Ma, I haven't read any of those Godzilla one shots." I was like, "All right." Anyways, good stuff. I gave this a 4.25.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this. I thought the art by Aaron Cooter delivered as well. As you can see, great stuff. So yeah, basically here you see him at the end. He's in hell now or whatever, you know, like, and fighting Godzilla essentially, and he raises his hammer, and it's just cool because like he's got like the same power almost like that Godzilla has when like they both clash and they're just like going at each other essentially in the scene before here. So I just thought he made it work. Yeah, for Asgard there. Hell, the shores of land of the restless fallen, essentially. You just see him going to town again on Godzilla, the endless fight of these two. Great stuff. And you just see the hammer floating through space at the end, all like beaten up. Great issue. Nice. Next up, JSA number 9 by Jeff Lemire. Yeah, you know what? The series is still chugging along. I think the last 2 issues have been really great. This one less so. But you know, I think he's just still continuing working his way through this arc, setting up the new villains and kind of their connection to these characters and like what they were trying to achieve in the past, and basically what they are the villains are coming back to achieve something they failed to do in the past, and they're kind of doing it through having to fight the new members of this team, and the old members are advising them essentially. So again, there's kind of touching on 2 different eras of legacy within these characters and the villains that they fought throughout the years. And there's this cool scene in this where, well, there was a revealing scene in this where basically there's somebody that was trying to make themselves appear to be one of the team members, and they were able to mine somebody for some information in this issue. And then they turn around and they find out it was actually the villain, basically disguising himself as them. He was able to make himself look like the character. So somebody revealed some information that's helpful to the villains by the end of this. So yeah, not a bad issue, but I give this a 3.5 out of 5 overall, though. I'm still really enjoying this. And this is coming off of 2 really good issues in this series. So this second arc has been a lot stronger than the first so far for me. Next up, we got Batgirl number 9. I didn't read the last 2 issues because after the first arc, which I really enjoyed, they were kind of did this thing where they're like, oh yeah, we're going to tell these stories through the journal of Cassandra. She's basically traveling somewhere else at the end of the first arc. And she like opens this journal that her mother had left her before she died, apparently in the end of that first arc. I don't believe that she's dead. We'll see what happens there, but she's reading the journal. And then they're like, okay, let's go into this Lady Shiva story for the next 2 issues. And I kind of jumped off. I was just like, I'm not really interested in that. And it really feels like I haven't skipped a beat going back into this. I don't know what that story, if anything, is going to have an impact on the current day storyline. We'll see. Maybe it'll be something I don't get from this. But basically, there's about 3 different swordsmen that are on their way in different locations going to take down Cassandra Cain in this story currently after they parted ways at the end of the last arc and they killed her mother. So that's very interesting. Also, what they got going on is she goes to this dragon ranch and she meets up with, I forget his name, Bronze Tiger. And basically, she's like, my mother told me I had to meet up with you because I have to speak to the Jade Tiger. Who is the Jade Tiger? And the whole time he's not telling her and, speaking kindly about her mother and this and that. And he's like not giving her the information she wants. And then they end up fighting essentially, as these guys always do. But then somebody else shows up and starts fighting her. And then you find out that her half brother or whatever is the Jade Tiger. It's his. Bronze Tiger and Lady Shiva apparently hooked up years ago, and this is her basically her step. Like this is her brother, this kid who shows up, and he's like he knew about this, but Cassandra Cain never knew about this. So this is a pretty big new development for the character that she's actually got a brother, and she's got other forms of family here, something that this character really didn't have. She obviously has leaned in on the Bat family aspect of having family because her mother and her didn't get along. And now with her mother out of the picture, apparently, supposedly this is an interesting kind of new thing for the character. And so I guess we'll see where this goes. I thought this was a good issue. I'll give this a 3.75 out of 5. They ended up fighting, but then the reveal was made that they're related. So cool stuff. Not bad. Didn't see it coming. Avengers 28. Chris, you read this, right?
Yeah, I read this one.
Okay. Go ahead.
I'm not a big fan. I've kind of stepped away from the Avengers, but I figured see what's going on here. And we got Cap and T'Challa. It sounds like they've been taking out these Masters of Evil that they brought to this stupid place, and it seems like the Mad Thinker's the only one left. And Mad Thinker, it's the Mad Thing or the Thinker. I don't know if he's the Mad Thinker, but he seems to be whatever. I think they reference that he's always 12 steps ahead and they can't outsmart him. They're sort of battling him, and I guess that battle is basically just stalling for time. And I think the actual city itself takes over some sort of android or something, and they take over the Dread Knight, and he resets the impossible city. And I guess that just freaking messes up with the Mad Thinker's plans. The art wasn't anything to write home about. The characters involved, not my favorites. And that's just a dumb story. When they brought these Masters of Evil on to fight with whatever Doom, I thought that was a good idea. And just where it ended up just wasn't anywhere where I wanted to be. And I'm just glad this is over. It seems, at least, they had those Ashen Combine people that they were going to send down to Earth to whatever, just to wreak havoc, let's say. That didn't work out. And I guess everything's all good now in the Impossible City. All right, we'll see where it goes from here.
Yeah, this arc really sucked. It started off interesting, and then I think the first half of this arc was good, and then the second half completely dropped the ball. I was just like, you had the opportunity to tell an interesting, fun story with some, C-list villains that we don't get to see all too often, and have like a story that I guess is somewhat semi-connected to the One World Under Doom, but then he failed to deliver on that, and instead he used it as a way to somehow try to prop up some characters on this team that I could care less about. So it was really not good. I agree with you. It was a waste of time. And this Jed McKay Avengers run is really, really inconsistent. I've really enjoyed some stuff. I've really hated some stuff. And a majority of it I've just thought was just mid, it was just so-so. I just don't think, honestly, between this and X-Men, I don't know. He's really lost.
Books aren't doing so well.
Yeah, he's not really good at team books, is what I'm kind of learning, honestly. Because I'm going to give him a pass in that sense. Like, I just don't think you're good at team books, because I think all the other books he's done, Doctor Strange, Moon Knight, like these other Black Cat, like he's shown that he can write these books about characters like, B, C-list characters that really well when given the shot, like his tryout books, let's say. But he's really failing for me big time on the big A-list books that he was given based off of all of that work, right? Like, so
Yeah.
I don't know. I think he delivered and all that stuff. Bloodhunt was so right. I think that this past year and a half of him doing Avengers, X-Men that we've witnessed now, though, he's fallen off the radar of some of my favorite Marvel writers.
I think at the end of this issue, they teased that, the next issue, you're going to find out about this missing moment. And I don't really care about this missing moment. I don't know what this missing moment can be, that it's going to be so, so transformational that it can redeem all this stuff that he's done. If he can do it, then freaking kudos to him. But I can't see that. I'm not really interested. There was a lot of hype. They're hyping this up in those timeless books, and it seems like this whole run was based on this missing moment.
And also, like, we're at issue 28. Like, at this point, it's like not the first 12 issues or whatever. It seemed like he found his footing somewhat after that, and then he lost it again. It seemed like, but then I think the arc before this was the Black Cat arc, which was a couple of issues that were good. So, like, you see glimpses still that he can do some fun stuff here and there, but I just think it's, again, just been very inconsistent. Like, but between this and X-Men, that's what, issue 18, we're looking at almost 50 issues of just mediocre comics that he's been writing lately. Like, and maybe it's the fact that these are coming out like every couple of weeks. I don't know. I just, something is going on where I feel like, he's dropped the ball on these titles, like compared to his work prior to this, which I think we were overall enjoying for the most part. Right. But this is just, this is not good. I think there's too many arcs now where we're just like, this wasn't it. This wasn't that great. We dropped off the book. We came back on the book. And I think that's how it's going to be for X-Men currently for us too. We just dropped it after 17. We gave him that long to be like, hey man, like, write something that's really good here. You never really achieved that for me on that run. So, and
it seems like the underlying story that's supposed to pull everything together, and all, like in X-Men and in this, it's just not interesting.
Like, that's enough now. Like, I feel like I've avoided trashing him like this whole time, but enough's enough here. Like, we got to call it, we got to call it what it is here. Like, this is not a good run. X-Men is not being a good run. So anyways, what'd you give this?
3.25.
Yeah. I may even go 3 after this conversation, but it's disappointing. So anyways, Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe number 4.
Yeah, I think I must have missed number 3 or something, because Deadpool seems like freaking overpowered here. He's talking about how, I think I saw him bond with the symbiote, but now he has like the Hulk powers, and somehow he's got the Ghost Rider power. So he's been picking up upgrades throughout this thing here. But I like this. I did like the stuff with him with Doom, and he's kind of, where Doom's playing almost like Dr. Frankenstein, creating something for Deadpool there, and then whatever his holographic conscience or whatever that's telling what to do, she seems to be against what he's doing. And I don't know, whatever world he popped into where he's fighting these Avengers, and he kind of they drop you right into the battle, so there's no context of what the battle is. But it's always interesting to see who these characters were. Like, there's like an undead Thor. There's like the God of War Ares, which seems to be like the Punisher almost. And it's not Tony Stark. It's his brother, his father. I don't know, Anon or whatever his name was. Arno, Arno Stark.
Father.
And and freaking Deadpool seems to. Oh, and there's a Captain Marvel there. That's Moonstone. I don't know what that's about either, but Deadpool seems to kick their asses and just shreds the whole team, which was fun to watch. And then unexpectedly, you see, that, when he's kind of revealed to the public is all like cheering for him. So it seems like these Avengers weren't the greatest people. And then, the Iron Man comes back and he goes, "Oh, I got more than enough firepower for you." And once again, this Deadpool here's got some upgrades that can dwarf that Iron Man's power. And then it goes back to him with Tony Stark, and they're trying to create some sort of super adaptoid. There's some interesting tidbits about how their secret empire or secret war, Skrull War empire turned out. It sounds like it didn't turn out very well, where everybody started turning on everybody, and the world's almost at the end there, and whatever they're trying to build works. And then Doctor Doom is like, okay, well, now that our alliance is finished, I imagine you're going to try and kill me because you're out here trying to take out the worst of all these key points in multiverses. And then Deadpool's got to break the news to him and says, sorry, buddy, you're not on the list. And he's like, what do you mean? What are you talking about? I'm Doom. And then he finds out that he's unworthy of Deadpool's time, which kind of breaks him a bit. And then at the end here that you show up, it looks like Deadpool's going to the source to fix whatever problem he's trying to fix. So not bad. Good. It's fun stuff.
Yeah, this book's crazy. It's honestly like balls to the wall, like just like every version of different variations of the characters he's fighting, and they're trying to make sense of it, like with throughout this whole multiversal story or whatever that he's going through of some importance. And they've all these miniseries that have been like this. This is the third one. They've all been like this, so it's what I expect, and it's just a nice, fun, out of continuity story essentially with Deadpool. So it's I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed reading it. So yeah, good stuff. What'd you give this?
I got a 3.75.
Same, yeah. Next up, we got Ultimate Wolverine number 8.
This has some good stuff and bad stuff. I'll start with the bad stuff.
Number 7. Sorry about that. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the bad stuff is freaking this Wolverine and Kitty Pryde. Okay, I can understand, that could have been 1 or 2 pages, but they're talking on forever about, how he's got his dirty past and he feels regret for what he's doing, and then she's trying to pep him up. Once you get over those, whatever, I don't know if that's half the comic, then you get into business. Yeah. And the business here is not some good business, I'll say. We have, that what's his name? Are there Wolverine's sort of off the map, and then the scientists that were sort of following him, they're trying to hide the fact that Wolverine's gone AWOL, and they figure it out. And whatever, Magic drags one of those scientists to hell and starts torturing her, and then she kind of reveals that she may have a way to get rid of all the mutants all at once or something. And it's then the story picks up and it gets back on track. And I started enjoying the rest of that. And they're trying to put a team together because they're going to take the fight to the Russians or whatever, I don't know, to the Eurasian Republic, or basically the Colossus and his team. And then even though there's that 1 page afterwards, and it sort of reveals that someone's been searching for where this rebellion is sort of hidden, and they kind of come across that they might find out where it is just because it's a missing place that's been scrubbed. So I thought it was a good and bad issue, but more good than bad.
Yeah, I think stronger than the last couple of issues, because instead of spending time in his head or seeing him drugged going through berserker rage and everything that we've experienced with him lately, this really moved the story forward. I thought it really gave you a look more into the characters surrounding his rescue and this world. And I think this book has a lot of potential, man. This has a lot of potential, this side of the world and the ultimate new universe that they've set up here. I just hope that we get to explore it a bit more before it all comes to an end, honestly.
Yeah.
With, some of the rumors swirling, or even with the promise of this book and kind of where they're going with it so far. But that's probably my favorite part about this, is just that seeing all these people now finally coming together, and the potential that this kind of could raise for this new X-Men team. And very much many ways, this is probably the answer to what, if you wanted a proper Ultimate X-Men book, this is it. So
yeah, that's right. This should have been titled Ultimate X-Men. I know they got that Peach Momoko one that they called the Ultimate X-Men, but I don't know what else they could have called that one. But this is the real Ultimate X-Men right here.
Absolutely, yeah. So what'd you give this?
I'll give it a 3.75. I'd go for a 4 if it didn't have too much baloney at the beginning.
No, I go also 3.75. Good issue, though.
Yeah.
Next up, we got All New Venom number 8.
Oof. Another good one. You got Doc Ock. And he's been written well in this one. He looks great. And there's a new sort of layer to his lore now, is that they do explain that he doesn't want to unmask his heroes. Like, he doesn't remember what he forgets, but he remembers that he forgets.
Yeah.
And like he's, he references that, goes, I've been rebooted twice, I've beaten Spider-Man. They pull off his mask and then freaking, I don't know what happens after.
Yeah.
And that was I think it's a great thing for him to have. And then now he's fighting Venom here, and Venom, thinks he's got the one, or well, there's the stuff with Venom and anti-Venom. They're trying to make their fake fight. And there's some stuff with Paul and Dylan going on. They didn't really lay into the Paul and Dylan relationship too hard. They didn't get the digs on Paul that Dylan usually gets, so I missed those. But it does seem that Dylan might find out who this new Venom is. I don't think he's actually put it together, but he's just steps away. But then back to, somehow they all get pulled into this, whatever the base there, where they're keeping all the symbiotes there as prisoners. Venom gets drawn in there and he's fighting Doc Ock. And I think, he's got Doc Ock all webbed up, and he kind of makes his own arms, but he's got 9 of them. I thought that was funny. The 9th one was just to punch him in the face, while he's kind of, all the other arms were taking care of Doc Ock's arms. And then I forgot about Doc Ock's upgraded arms that can freaking burst out into the singular entity. So that was a nice callback. Mm-hmm. And then Doc Ock sort of takes care of business. And we have, I think, the rest of those, what's that place called? SCAR or something? There's some acronym for them. I forget what it is. And they all sort of show up, and I think they want him to unmask the Venom, but he's like, no way, I'm not doing anything. I'm going to kill this. We'll kill Venom as it is. And I think that's where it ends, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a fun issue all the way through. And I like Doc Ock, the way they write it here. It's great.
Agreed. This is just a fun book. I think it's really well done. Great art, fun book. Way better than I expected it to be. And it keeps me entertained and keeps me, honestly keeps me coming back every issue. I think this is really, if you haven't been reading this and you just disregarded this and you're like me, who's like not a big fan of all the Venom books that they put out, this is one that's worthwhile. Honestly, it is worth checking out. And honestly, like, it has more, like, it's more of a Spider-Man book even than it is a Venom book. Like, because it's got
like a Spider-Man adjacent book. It's all Spider-Man characters.
Yeah, but it's even kind of like, yeah, exactly. It's got Mary Jane. It's got that stupid Paul, who no one likes. Robbie Robertson's in this.
Yeah.
There is, listen, Venom is a Spider-Man character. So like it's very much, I would say, more a Spider-Man adjacent, even more so, I would say, than what the previous Venom was, like, in comparison.
Yeah, because, for sure.
That was all.
Yeah, they're trying to take Venom on his own ride. Because they're kind of creating his own world. This world is very close to Spider-Man's world. Like, and somehow he's got to come into this comic sooner or later.
Yeah, but I like that he has any issues in.
Yeah, well, I'm glad they've taken their time. They can't drop him in right away.
Yeah,
we're gonna give the comic some time to breathe, and the longer I think it takes to breathe, the bigger the confrontation will be with Spider-Man and Venom when it finds out that it's Mary Jane.
Honestly, I'm surprised so far that, and I mean, I know he's not everyone's cup of tea, because, like, what I've learned recently is that people fucking despise the Zeb. Well, not recently. They despise the Zeb Wells run. Like, they announced recently they're putting out an omnibus, like a big hardcover of his collection. And, like, if you go to the video where they announced it, I saw on YouTube, in the comments, everyone's just shitting on the Zeb Wells era. And I was just like, you know what? Like, towards the end, maybe it wasn't that great, but I'm like, we had some fun with the Zeb Wells era. I'm like,
yeah. It started out good. Like,
I was really surprised at the vitriol. Like, that's just Spider-Man fans. I feel like they're fickle, like X-Men fans. But I was really surprised at, like, how much people were shitting on the Zeb Wells run. I was like, I literally found like maybe 1 or 2 comments where some guys like, I like the run. I was like literally just scouring the comments looking for. I was like, I like the run for the most part.
I like to hate that run. I think people just like to hate it.
Yeah,
which is still liking it.
Right. Yeah, that's, just comic fans, some of them. But anyways, that being said, though, I'm surprised Rec Rap hasn't showed up in this series yet. You know what I mean? Like, I think that would be an easy. I think that would be an easy sell if Rec Rap showed up in this for like an issue or two. I don't know everyone loves him, but I think that would be like it would make sense if he showed up in this.
I just gotta wait to let Ed. Does Ed McGuinness usually draw a Rec Rap?
Yes,
that's his creation or something, or something he likes to stand by. So maybe until Ed McGuinness gets there, Rec Rap is under wraps.
Anyways, what'd you give this?
I can't. I'll give it 3.75. I can't give it a 4 though.
Yeah, 3.75. And then lastly, Amazing Spider-Man #7, Chris.
Yeah, once again, it's another comment that I had low expectations, and the best thing I can say about it, it wasn't bad. It was good. Well, I won't say it was good, but it wasn't bad. And it's growing on me. This stuff with that Hellgate, I think that's a little more interesting than I thought it was going to be. You know, I thought he'd just be some freaking who knows what, and they just have a freaking simple battle. But it seems like he's here to take Peter Parker somewhere, or take Spider-Man somewhere. You know, he's there to talk to him, or propose some sort of deal. And I guess they could have got somewhere, but then whatever they were on some sort of stakeout, and then that Hellgate, sees that this whatever the shenanigans were going on, we're gonna kind of interfere with his parlay with Spider-Man, and so he goes down there and he kills everybody. Then of course Spider-Man, being Spider-Man, say, I don't know where you're from, but you can't just go around killing people, so he has to really kind of go all out to try and take care of this guy. And it seems like whatever he does, it isn't enough. So it's good to see Spider-Man sort of up against the wall against the new villain, and we'll see where it goes.
The things I liked about this, honestly, were one, like you said, the disregard for human life that this character had. And I gotta say, like, Joe Kelly, though, he brought some really good zingers, I thought, with all his D&D references to this guy. And like,
the way he's talking, that was kind of funny too.
It was good. He's good at the Spider-Man gift.
Yeah, when he sees the guy go, don't worry, he's the Black Cat, don't worry, I'll talk to him in D&D. I got this.
Yeah. Because there were some references of D&D. I think there was like a Lord of the Rings. There was like some references like that in here where it worked for me. I thought it was pretty funny the way he was kind of doing that, and he even kind of referenced like JJ here. He was just like, I'm now that I'm retired, and he's like, I wonder what this kid's up to. And he like looks at his text, and he's got like a text from Peter Parker. Hey, want to hang out later? I don't know, man. I like some of the moments of this. It was good. Listen, again, I think I know I'm not opposed to dumb fun in the Spider-Man comics. Like, if you're gonna give me that, it's better than trying to like make me feel like you're gonna tell an important story and then it's gonna flop. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if this is what you want to give me, I'm okay with that for the
I'm okay with that too. Yeah.
So, anyways, that's kind of where we're at now, I feel like, for this series. What'd you think of the JRJR?
Once again, like I say, it wasn't bad.
Yeah,
I don't think he tried here. I'll say that much. It's better than the blocky stuff he was doing with the gang war and stuff like that.
Here's the thing. I think that what's going on in this current story, I just think is more tailor-made for his art. Like, I think like that's why when he showed up, that guy, I was like, oh, this Hellgate guy, I think that's a slam dunk for JRJR, the way he draws like people. Like, I was like,
what kind of character? It's some blocky character. It's got a square head, square body.
Yeah, like
that's right up your alley, buddy.
Like if the thing shows up next to your shoe, I think it's, you know what I mean? Like, I'll be like, oh, it's great, good stuff.
Yeah, he doesn't do the round rock thing there. That's the full rocks.
Yeah. What'd you give this?
I'll give it 3.5.
No, I go 3.75. I liked it, but yeah, I'm glad you thought it was okay too. All right, that's gonna do it for this week's comics. Chris, what are you looking forward to checking out next week?
All right, let me load up things here. Let's see. Okay, I'll start out with Image. We got Transformers 22. And did we talk about the news of Transformers yet or no?
We did, yeah. But Rob,
we did.
Last episode we talked about it, yeah.
Yeah, I think Geiger is at 16. What else do we have? I think that might be it for. Oh, Drawing Blood. Is that coming out next week too?
Hopefully, it's been on a hiatus
Oh.
lately. I don't know what's going on. Every time I feel like when we say it's coming out, it never comes out. So at this point, if it shows up, we'll see.
And this Uncanny X-Men 17, that cover's got me interested. It seems like they're introducing some new character, Mutina or something. That's supposed to be well, it's probably gonna be garbage, so maybe not. I'll probably read that Ultimate Incursion 2. Wasn't a big fan of that. We got Fantastic Four #1. Holy smokes, they got to turn around quick on that. Daredevil, Cold Day in Hell #3. I think that's the end of that one, so looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Doctor Strange in Asgard, Imperial 2. Ooh, that might be it for Marvel that I'm looking forward to. And finally, DC. Absolute Superman 9.
Yeah.
I don't know if I got this Supergirl 3 or not. It's an art germ cover, but I probably did. I got DC versus Vampires, World War 11 or World War V 11. And well, I'll probably read this Gotham City Sirens. A couple other junky stuff that's I'm not really going to be reading. I think that might be it. What are you getting?
Absolute Batman 10. Did you have that on? Is it coming out?
Oh, I didn't have that. Is that coming out?
Hold on. I have it here, but I might be wrong. Let me just double check here. Because I also have a this list.
No, I'm getting it for sure.
Yeah. Let me just make sure here that this is correct. It is not. Never mind. Daredevil Cold Day. Daredevil Cold Day in Hell #3. DC versus Vampires World War V 11. Farmhand 23. Imperial 2. Marvel Knights: The World to Come #2. Gotta find out what's going on with that white Black Panther. Does this swimsuit issue come out next week?
Oh yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah, swimsuit issue.
Cover. What covers did you get for that?
You know what? I think I just stuck to the one somehow. I think probably just because of the price tag. I got just
the A cover, or I got the Mark Brooks cover.
Mark Brooks cover. The Mark Brooks one. Yeah. I you know what? The Adam Hughes one was okay, but I didn't get that one. I mean, it was just 2 people on it or whatever, right? So this kind of had like the most people on it. The Mark Brooks one I liked. I don't always like his stuff, so I got that. Superman Treasury 2025 Hero for All. I think that's I don't know. It's like a big Treasury size issue. Bruno Redondo drew it. I think Dan Jurgens wrote it. I believe that comes out. I think they're coming out with that because of the release of the new movie.
Yeah.
Transformers 22, which I'm very much looking forward to. And Ultimate Spider-Man Incursion 2 as well. I just pre-ordered up to the 2nd issue, but I got a very cool Sanford Green variant coming in for that one. So I'm looking forward to that. I'll read, that's what I'm picking up, but I'll read some things digitally too. Like you said, Fantastic Four #1. What else here? Just take maybe that Gotham City Sirens. The first issue was all right. Absolute Superman, of course. What else we got here? Trinity, Daughter of Wonder Woman comes out.
Yeah, I'll probably read that. That was okay.
I didn't read the first issue because I didn't read the first one, but I remember you said it was all right. It actually now is revealed this is a 6-issue mini series. They tend to do that now. They don't tell you at first, but that's Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, a new miniseries comes out next week, Rite of Spring #1. So I'll probably read that. What else? Yeah, I don't see Drawing Blood on this shipping list. So I don't think it's coming out still. And then Marvel, anything else from Marvel? Like I said, FF. That's it though. I don't think which covers do you get for the swimsuit?
Just the Mark Brooks one, the ones with the surfboards.
Yeah, same. That's what I got too. Red Hulk 6. Yeah, I think that's it though. Probably nothing else there. All right. So yeah, that's what we're looking forward to on the week of July 9th, 2025 to reading. All right, Chris.
I did see some previews for those J. Scott Campbell covers that are coming out, I think, in August.
Which ones? Like
He's got a bunch of covers coming out for Marvel. I think he's got one for Amazing Spider-Man, one for Black Cat. Don't look too bad, but they're still more. They're more similar to the ones they had in the for the beginning of the X-Men.
Oh, I did
It's
see
just
that.
more like it's just a picture of the character. It's kind of something in the background.
I just pre-ordered the one that he's doing, I think, for Black Hat or whatever.
Yeah, he's got a Black Cat, a Mary Jane one. I think might be it's got a few other ones.
Yeah, she's like sitting, and then there's like a version of her in the background or something.
Yeah,
yeah, I've seen that. Yeah. Those they're good for him.
Yeah.
Like it's better than some of the phoned in ones we've had lately. Yeah, I agree. All right. So your favorite book of the week, Chris?
I think I'm gonna give it to Captain America.
Yeah,
I like that one. I think I know I think I know what you got. Methinks it is Thor versus Godzilla.
It is, and that's
Nice.
Godzilla versus Thor.
Oh, sorry.
But it is that, and I would say the runner-up this week would have been Black Hammer Spiral City for me. I think that was really good too. But yeah, Godzilla versus Thor, as you could tell how much I enjoyed that one, and I think it was just really cool to see Jason Aaron kind of bring back some of these ideas and concepts and stuff that he's had in different series of his. So good stuff.
Yeah, so if this Black Hand group thought now that Godzilla shows up and go, oh, maybe he's the beast. So they just spent, 40 years ruining Frank Castle's life for no reason? Like, weren't they dead sure that he was the guy?
Yeah. Well, I'm just glad that they doubled down on this idea that we're never going to fuck with this idea ever again. I like that Jason Aaron was just like, we were wrong about that. And I was like, that's right, you were. Bring back the other Punisher now. That's enough of this business. Like that's like, that was honestly the bigger reaffirming thing I enjoyed about this issue was that they referenced it, but they're like, yeah, anyways, enough of that. This is our God. This is the one that we believe in.
We won't bother Frank Castle anymore.
No. And then they even showed like in one of the panels, like his armor with that stupid Punisher symbol.
Yeah.
Right. I was just like, yeah, good riddance. And you know what? Again, I didn't think that series was as bad. Like the idea was he did the best with what he could. I know we talk about this before, but listen, he did the best with what he could. If you want to read a much better Jason Aaron Punisher, read his Punisher Max series. That's all I'll say about that. All right. He was writing that when I came back into comics. And we're going to see him this year, Chris, at Toronto Fan Expo. So you better not talk shit. We're going to be like, hey, you're those guys. Punisher run. I'm like, no.
I haven't read much of yours. The only thing I did read was a Punisher run. It's garbage.
I know what I'm bringing to get signed by him.
It's not the Punisher. MJ, buddy, hey, can you sign this? Sorry, buddy, I can't. Here's your $20 back. Or whatever it is. Try reading this book. He'll give me another comic.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, God. All right. Well, there you have it, guys. That's another episode of Comic Shop Talk. Thank you to Chris. Thank you to all the viewers and everyone who checks out the show. And we'll see you next week, as always. Later, guys.
All right. Take it easy.